This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
The numbers told the story, they always do.
It's one of those idiots who believe in analytics.
This is a numbers game with Gil Alexander on VSiN.
Good Friday morning to you. It is a numbers game at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, VSiN.com, Game Plus, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV, and of course, Sirius XM Channel 158. It's Gil Alexander. No Kelly Bidlett today. Kelly on vacation. Kelly on his way or already has arrived in Vegas in Nashville for a little trip with the boys. So we wish Kelly well. Hope all the travels are safe. Kelly will be back with us, I guess, a week from Monday. That's the story. Taking today off and then all of next week. That doesn't mean he didn't leave all the good guests behind, because he did. Jensen Lewis is going to join us. Jensen, you just heard on By the Books, co-host with Dave Ross of that show that leads into ours. Peter Fornatale will join us this hour to talk horse racing. You're like, Peter Fornatale, why are we talking horse racing? There is a global scandal in horse racing. Oh, my goodness. We got to get to the bottom of this. Again, I mentioned it the other day, but he's from Sky Sports Racing. He's going to help us talk about this because I'm not a horse guy, so I'm going to miss some of the details. But essentially, 6 horses, 4 of which finished in first place, 4 won their races, long odds, all trained by the same dude. Odds dropped, heavy betting in Britain. It's a whole thing. It's a whole attack on the sport of horse racing and the integrity. Peter will talk us through that. Jordan Sherwood, UFC 330 in Philadelphia, PA this weekend. And then Chrissy Andrews, my mishpucha, his triumphant return to the show after, how many years has this been now? A few years? Not on the network? Triumphant return. He has just written his 4th, count 'em, 4th book. First it was Then One Day, then it was Then One Year, and now it's Then One Life. Also has a novel on the side as well, Then One Life. Chrissy will be in studio to talk about that, talk about all things betting. Looking forward to that. And then, of course, it's Fezzik Fridays, the star of the show, Steve Fezzik, on Fezzik Fridays. Everything on his mind. And apparently those two are going to have to meet. Chrissy's going to leave the studio while Fezzik gets in, and that could be exciting in and of itself. Maybe we'll have a camera rolling outside the studio. So much to get to with all those guests, so much to get to here. I got to pack it in real quick into the first segment. Let me just start with football last night. NFL preseason week number 1 gets underway in earnest. Again, overreactions left and right. But if you're fans or have bets, season-long bets of some of these teams, you might get excited about some of the performance. Arizona Cardinals fans, that was, I don't know, it might not get any better than this. But that was a heck of a performance from Jeremiah Love. 11 carries, 58 yards, 5.3 yards per carry. 3 catches for 14 yards in the Cardinals game against the Raiders last night. Nothing to be upset about there. He looked great. Raiders, on the other hand, Kirk Cousins looked great in his one drive, 10 plays, 68 yards. 68-yard drive, I should say. He completed 5 passes for 50 yards, 13-yard touchdown pass to Michael Mayer as well. And then in came Fernando Mendoza, first pick in the draft out of Indiana, the national championship quarterback for the Indiana Hoosiers. And first drive wasn't great, 2 incompletions. Raiders forced a punt. Second drive, though, completed a 19-yard pass to rookie wideout Malik Benson. Fit the ball through a really tight window. Looked good there. And then after running back Mike Washington Jr. scampered for 53 yards, Mendoza zipping the ball to Beck for a 6-yard touchdown pass on third down. Third drive then was a 3 and out. The fourth drive, just like the second drive, really, really good from Mendoza. Put the Raiders into field goal range, finished the night completing 10 of 16 passes for 97 yards. He did struggle against pressure, if you were looking for a negative. 38.9% of dropbacks. He was pressured. He went 2 for 6 for 11 yards, 42.4 passer rating. And he was sacked once. So there was good, there was bad. But again, let's not read into too much of any of that in any of these preseason games. Just a couple other notes from last night. Drew Aller of the Steelers led him to 3 touchdowns in his first appearance. There was a 3rd and 7 in the third quarter. We connected with a 4th-round receiver, Caden Waitland, where 74-yard catch and run. 2 plays later, Aller kept the ball, read option, ran it into the end zone for a 3-yard score. Next drive, Aller and Wetjen connected again midway through the 4th, this time in the end zone, 5-yard touchdown. Then Aller, third touchdown of the night, 4-yard pass to rookie fullback Riley Nowakowski. So nice game from Drew Aller in the race to back up Aaron Rodgers. And then the only other note I would sort of say, Dejon Stribling of the Niners, who a lot of fantasy players have seized on, and the with the Ricky Pearsall injury or surgery ending season, not addressing the knee from last year in Pearsall's case. Stribling played the first 3 series for the Niners, all against starting Titans D-backs, 7 catches, 62 yards before calling it a night. Also included in that, a great 32-yard over-the-shoulder catch, an 11-yard catch and run for a first down to set up San Francisco's first touchdown. So some of the highlights from last night. If you are looking to bet tonight there's only 3 games. Dolphins Commanders, Malik Willis going for the Dolphins. He's set to start. Jeff Hafley, head coach, stating that the wider roster should be ready to play, expecting to include key offensive pieces like running back Devon Achane tonight for the Dolphins. Skill players expected to see limited action under the new coaching staff's baseline plan, but they will play because he said, Coach Hafley noted a need for extensive reps for a younger roster. So he wants overall starter exposure, even though it's going to be brief. Commanders, not so much. Nobody's playing. Jaden Daniels embroiled in his off-the-field LSU shenanigans, which we'll get into later. Not a good look. Not a good look. No big players on the Commanders expected to play. So Dolphins expected to go with starters for a few series. Commanders, not so much. Broncos, Falcons tonight. No Bo Nix, but Broncos' other starters are expected to play roughly 10 to 15 snaps in this ball game. Kevin Stefanski for the Falcons said he plans to give his starters some run tonight and then again in week 3 of the preseason. That's how Stefanski plans it for the Falcons. So they're going to, it's going to be a brief stint tonight for the starters, but they'll play nonetheless. He says they'll see 1 series or about 10 plays, whichever comes first. Tua Tagovailoa will get the start. No Michael Penix Jr. He will not play as he continues recovering from his knee injury. And then, by the way, the Broncos 4.5-point favorites in that ball game against the Falcons in Atlanta tonight. Buccaneers, Jets, the third of the 3. Buccaneers not expected to play any of the regular season starters in tonight's game in MetLife. Head coach Todd Bowles says he's going to sit everybody, including the likes of Baker Mayfield. So you'll get Connor Bazelak and undrafted rookie Jalen Daniels handling the snaps. Jake Browning has a back injury, so he will not be playing. So it's younger players, those fighting for roster spots. Reuben Bain Jr., their first-round draft pick, expected to see little to no action. And unlike Tampa, Jets, they've announced the starters will play at least for a series or 2. So Aaron Glenn saying, let's see what Geno Smith, Breece Hall, and Garrett Wilson and all these guys look like for a couple series. Kenyon Sadiq, their first-round draft pick, not going to play. Sadiq with a core surgery hernia issue this offseason. By the way, I don't know if, Jets favored by 5.5 in this ball game against the Bucs. A lot of that informed by the way the coaches are handling it with starters tonight. But the word out of the Jets camp, the big word, is that their first-round draft pick, David Bailey, absolutely having his way with the Bucs offensive line in joint practices this offseason. So they were excited about that. Those are the 3 games tonight, preseason. More games, of course, tomorrow. Tennis, whole bunch to talk about here. Yesterday, Iga Swiatek wins the Canadian Open. It's her 8th 1,000 out of 10. Well, she's won 12 1,000s because she's won some multiple times. But of the 10 1,000 tournaments, that's the level right before slams. This is the 8th different one she's won. She beats Elena Rybakina in straight sets. I immediately after the first set yesterday grabbed some 7-to-1s on Iga to win the U.S. Open that were available at Skins. She wins it in straights. BetMGM had 7-1 available. I'm not sure what's available. Best price shop around. But I said it earlier in the week. Her match against Marta Kostyuk this past Saturday, something unlocked after the first set. You could almost see it live if you're a keen observer of her. And whatever was happening in between her ears seemed to just disappear, and it was vintage Iga. I'm making her sound like she's 40 years old. She's only 25. But I made the bet 7-1 Iga Swiatek to win the U.S. Open. Zach Cohen, our buddy, said that he found some 8-to-1s. This was yesterday, so I shop for the best price. Get it while you can. I'm not sure you can still get the 7-1 or 8-to-1, but if you can get anything above 5-to-1, man, grab it. Yesterday, 3-1 in tennis. We had four picks on the show. 3-1, including a plus 230 winner on Martine Landaluce. Landaluce, I believe is the way you pronounce that. So big day in tennis. The only person that lost for us was Adrian Manarino. Hit on Taylor Townsend yesterday as well. Hit on Dion Paris. We have one holdover pick from yesterday, Talon Griekspoor. You can still bet that. Again, VSiN subscribers, it pays to be a subscriber. VSiN.com/picks, because honestly, that's the only price right now that is anywhere close to where I gave it out to subscribers at VSiN. Greek Sport, I got it minus 101. It's about minus 105. These others, man, I don't think you can play them anymore. In fact, if you're doing this right, I would just suggest you shouldn't play them anymore. But again, those interested, it pays to subscribe. It's sort of my billboard for why you should subscribe at VSiN.com/picks. Senja Kraus on the ladies' side, minus 115 last night is what I gave it at. She's minus 145 now, 30 cents CLV. What could go wrong? But I wouldn't play her at that price. And then on the men's side, 2 plays, Michael Zhang minus 130 versus Fabian Morajan, and Coleman Wong minus 131 versus Daniel Altmaier. Minus 130 and minus 131 have turned into minus 154 and minus 172. So I don't think we can play any of those 3 anymore, I'm sorry to say. Again, pays to be a subscriber, VSiN.com/pick. Sorry about that. We don't usually play 4 favorites in a day. It's kind of a rare day anyway, and 3 of those have just absolutely soared off the page. Detroit Tigers win another series, beat the Guardians in the rubber match yesterday, a shutout with no strikeouts. Unbelievable. There's only been 9 of those since 1995. Incredible. Tigers have had 3 of them, by the way. That was the first one, I believe, in 9 years. Maybe 12 years, if I'm not mistaken. Tigers win another series this month. We have them at 60-1, of course. They are now 8-3. They're 2 wins behind the Tampa Bay Ray leading August 10-1 Rays. All looking good. Now it's a 3-game set against the White Sox in Detroit. Again, the Tigers right now are on the inside looking out of the American League playoff picture. They'd be the 3rd wild card, but they're 2.5 games behind the White Sox. You sweep, you're in the division lead, looking at least to win 2 of 3, not only for themselves, to be as close as 1.5 after this series, but also for our bet, of course. Coming back on a numbers game.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match it. Here's the thing. Pro bettors, they spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't know and don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. With VSiN Pro, you're going to get access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and so much more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Unmatched transparency with records updated daily. AI betting analysis. It's the Sharp Plays. We invite you to check them out. Real-time global betting info. Alerts directly from the pros. Scan the QR code on your screen for more. SharpPlays.com. Gil Alexander with Chrissy Andrews in studio. The band is back together again. Triumphant return to the network. We get tweets at Beating the Book. Most of these are on you. Dalgo, I was on Cincinnati radio or YouTube channel, The Crown, this morning. So he says, seeing Gil with James Rapian on The Crown was a blending of 2 worlds I didn't expect. Good blank, he says. Thank you. Thank you to them for having me on. Talk Cincinnati Open. This is from, let's see, Jay Green. Gil, you got to guess a line. Any line doesn't matter, but we need to know if Chrissy likes your number better. Let's go. Thank you, Jay Green. That's a throwback to the old guessing lines days. Bushy Head, welcome back, Chris. Does Chrissy have any thoughts on the horse racing scandal? Are you familiar with this?
Yeah.
So we had Peter Fornatale on earlier.
I know. I missed Peter because I actually got to get in touch with Peter because in this book,
yeah,
I have a whole chapter on horse racing, on my thoughts about horse racing.
Oh,
some good and bad.
Where does this scandal rank in the pantheon of horse racing scandals?
Well, I think we're still kind of going through it.
We are.
Yeah. I mean, it came out yesterday that they gave him some illegal drugs, but it was a month before the race.
Oh.
So I don't know how, I don't know the physiology of how that works. Right. I don't know. But there's something going on. I know that. So, but I think before we start making, concrete accusations, I think there's still a lot of investigation that needs to be done.
Chris Heath, one of my favorite Then One Day stories is the huge Pick 5 ticket at Bay Meadows where Chrissy's father...
Pick 6.
Pick 6, where Chrissy's father-in-law gets in on the action.
Yeah.
That's the one where is it Pam who was cheering and you're like, oh, no.
That was, my first wife.
Oh, your first one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Let's see. Pardon me. Money Gun Guz. This brings back so much nostalgia and great memories from the Monday football lines. How does Chris feel about his Steelers this year? Great show.
Well, they sure looked good last night, but I'm on with a bunch of guys, from Pittsburgh. There's like 20 of us.
Yeah.
Those boys. And I'm a Penn State fan, so I thought Aller was fantastic. He looked terrific. I don't want to jump on, knocking James Franklin, but I don't think he ever really developed quarterbacks. He had Christian Hackenberg, too, if you remember.
Who could forget?
Well, okay, but coming out of high school, he was like the number one quarterback, and he never developed. And they said the same thing about Aller. He just never developed under Franklin. Well, maybe he's developing under, listen, McCarthy, we could knock him on, but, he's had some great quarterback play under his tutelage, and maybe he found, I heard some guys, I'm not a scout or anything, I said Aller's footwork was bad, but now it looks like it's much improved. That might be something that he's worked on. But he looks great. I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic. How's that sound?
You can't get away from a bookmaking question though. Bobby Richigliano, and thank you for the question, Bobby. First row mess. Can you ask Mr. Anders? You're Mr. Anders, by the way.
Yeah.
About the 2.5. Oh, that just got knocked off my screen just there. Can you ask Mr. Anders about the 2.5 and 3.5 point line for the NFL years ago at South Point? To clarify that if the line opens at plus 2.5 and stays all week, you take the dog. If the line opens and stays all week at minus 3.5, you take the favorite. Thank you both.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and that's something I get all the time. Listen, obviously, if a game's sitting at 2.5, if you can get 3, go get the 3.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, if the sharp money was on the favorite, that money, it'd be 3 everywhere. But it's not. So whenever you see a 3, the wise guys take it, or maybe they're betting the money line or something like that. So the right side, and the right side loses all the time, but probably 58% of the time, the right side would be the dog in that situation. Conversely, if a number is sitting at 3.5 all week and never goes to 3, and once again, of course, you want to lay 3 if you have the opportunity. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you'll see a game that's like 3.5. The money line might be like $1.90 or something like that. That's a strong 3.5. That means that the favorite's the right side, according to the sharp money. And again, probably you're going to lose 42% of the time playing that, but the right side is probably the favorite in that situation.
Very interesting. I love some of the old tenets that you've learned through the decades that we wouldn't necessarily know instinctively.
Well, I was
like
on
that.
something, this is about a month ago, and guys were asking about like a lot of new guys in the, that we saw in Bet Bash. Well, you weren't there.
I wasn't there.
Anyway, I said a lot of these young kids, their IQ is certainly much, much higher than mine.
Yeah.
But they don't have the wisdom that I have from experience.
From experience.
From experience.
Yeah.
Just being around this business a long time.
By the way, I call you my mishpucha. You're the sportsbook director of the South Point. I bury the headline. You are in the sports gambling. Let me be distinct. Make a distinction. This is the sports betting Hall of Fame here.
No, I'm in the sports betting hall. This is the sports gambling.
Oh, right. You're in the sports betting Hall of Fame.
Right.
And so Spanky had to name his the sports gambling Hall of Fame. Correct.
Right.
So you're a Hall of Famer, for God's sakes. I should have introduced you like Joe Buck introduces Troy Aikman with the Hall of Famer Chrissy Anders. All right. Then One Life is the third book. This is the new book.
Yeah.
I immediately read the last chapter first.
Okay.
That was a Veasan chapter.
Yeah, that's a chapter on Veasan. I told the truth.
How do you encapsulate One Life into one book?
It's hard, and I followed Anthony's. I kept this under 90,000 words. I could have had 9 million words, but I kept it under 90,000. Really, the inspiration for the book, what started me on this path, was my wife had that brain tumor, and I think it's the third chapter in the book. Pamela, my wife, and you have to kind of read it, but it's hard for me to read it. It's very touching, what we went through. And that was really...
You were telling me off air the other day when we were hanging out at the South Point. You were telling me that's the one chapter you can't reread.
I can't reread it. And we were sending out an email because she had a lot of people asking me. So this is 3-4 months of me sending out an email every night. And fortunately, her cousin kept all the emails. So I had to reread those to write the chapter. And it's hard for me to get through them because what happened to her was devastating, And when I told you my writing process, the way I'll write something is, even in my head, I know it's just a draft, and then go back and add adjectives and similes and whatever. But that one I couldn't do, and I knew it while I was writing it. I said, I just have to write this as best as I can the first time through, because I'm not going to be able to go through this thing again. And even now, I'll go to reread it, and I can't get through it. You know, it's hard for me. It's really difficult.
Both of you have been dealt tough cards in the health department.
We have,
yeah.
And so that was probably the inspiration. And when I started thinking, I wonder if I could write a book on this. And I got to about 6,000 words in that chapter, and I said, I can't make a book out of this. Now, do you know Mary Roach? Do you know who that is by any chance?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, she's written some science books, but to guys like us who are not scientists,
Right.
But I mean, and I've read 2 or 3 of her books. They're really good. If this was her writing this book, she could get 300 pages out of it, going through the history of, how they operate on brain tumors and et cetera. By the way, she had, I don't know if I mentioned it, it was a brain tumor that she had, and it was not cancerous. And as soon as I found out it wasn't cancerous, I said, this is going to be a walk in the park. No. There's a lot of other variables that I kind of go through, and it seemed like every one for her was bad, But anyway,
she's doing. But just to let everybody know, she's doing great now.
She's doing well.
Yeah.
I mean, she lives her full life, and there's certain things that she has to deal with, that she never fully recovered. Mm-hmm. I mean, when she went in, she was the retail manager of Moana Nursery, and anybody knows in Reno, that's the biggest nursery in Reno. I mean, she was an executive, and then, she just, she couldn't do that anymore, and even now there's some things like she can't drive at night and some things like that. And there's issues that have lingered, but overall she's doing well. So that was the inspiration that got me going. Then, of course, I had my episode of,
yes.
Hey,
man, you were kind of touch and go there for a while.
Man, there's a picture of me in the book, and you can see, oh, man, he don't look so good,
Well, I also remember. I mean, not to be like, too serious about things, but yeah, I remember you even saying to me at some point, like, Gil, if you can just give me, if you can guarantee me 10 more years right now, I'd take it. Oh my God,
yeah. Oh, 10. They gave me 2017. They gave me 2 years to live. Yeah. And by 2019, that was 2 years later. I mean, I always say I was in my last couple of months. Pam says, you were in your last couple of weeks. You weren't going to make it any further. And I had the bone marrow transplant.
You were green, man.
I was, in bad shape. And now some people tell me about it now. They don't want to tell me about it when you're going through it.
What are we gonna
but
say
I've seen some guys with cancer, which, and by the way, my MDS, the thing I had, if you go look it up, some people define it as cancer and some people don't. But I asked my doctors at USC, and I talk about them, God bless them. They said, well, I don't know about anybody else, but we treat it as cancer. And by the way, USC at this point, this is even before I was, after 2 years, you're considered cured. Even before I was part of the statistics, they are now the #1 bone marrow transplant success rate in America, which and maybe the world. So I was very lucky to fall into their hands.
Yeah. And it's a painful thing. Also, like I just remember you go there
those first couple of weeks. And I don't know how much. We got a couple more things.
Yeah, there's much more in this book than just that stuff, though.
Right, exactly.
Then 1 year, which again does end with a VSiN chapter. Chrissy Andrews, the Hall of Famer, on a numbers game right here at VSiN.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Don't forget our VSiN Pro early bird special offer. Full VSiN Pro access through the Super Bowl for just $175, and you get it all. Daily best bets, betting splits data, AI-powered prop projections, 24/7 video access, NFL betting guide, really every betting guide we'd ever do. But this one is through the Super Bowl for $175, VSiN Pro early bird special, VSiN.com/subscribe. Check it out. Now, usually I go to the old Twitter machine here at this point and read off some tweets that are dedicated to this show. But a bit of a firestorm was started this morning on the show that preceded us on By the Books with Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis. And the feed is overrun with some stuff. We'll get the background here from Jensen on it. Jensen Lewis joins us now, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. You can follow Jensen on Twitter at JLew50. You got to write out the 50, though. Don't just put 50 in there. Got to spell it out. Jensen, good morning to you. What did you do this morning? What happened here?
But always great to be with you. So I'll set it up. I was co-hosting on Elmy Network Radio yesterday, and we had a chance to interview Minnesota Twins manager Derek Shelton. He has a weekly appearance on our Loud Out show, and he is live, Gil, from the outfield of the Field of Dreams in Dyersville, because obviously the Twins and the Phillies are playing there, and kind enough to give us the expanse of everything. We're talking Moonlight Graham, talking the house. You can, all the things that you can do and soaking in the atmosphere. And of course, in his week before, great colleague and friend Ryan Spilborghs and CJ Nikowski asked him, okay, are you play catch or have a catch when you're talking about it? And so I just threw it out into, the Xverse, Twitterverse, whatever we're calling it now, this morning, tagging all of our weekday talent and our weekend talent. Okay, are you team play catch? Are you team have a catch? And I have to say, with about 50% of the precincts reporting here, Gil, we are too close to call.
Come on.
No,
you're not.
Which way it
are
is.
You really? It's too close to call? This is not.
I think we're
Jensen. This is not.
I think we're leaning. I think we're leaning play catch here. That's at least mine. What are you, Gil? Are you have a catch or play catch?
Okay, let me just say this. I probably didn't say either. I probably was like, hey, you want to go outside, and we just have the mitts and the glove and the ball. We probably understand what we're doing anyway, so we probably don't say either. But I will tell you what we absolutely have never said in our lives, nor have ever heard growing up, was have a catch. What is that? Nobody says that. Come on, stop it. What American-born human ever said that? It doesn't happen. It's play catch. Let's go and let's go play catch. Play catch sounds stupid too, by the way. But I would take that over have a catch.
Jonathan Von Tobel with a winning response to Dustin Sweetelson so far. Dustin Sweetelson, I don't know if this is to stir the pot further, but Dustin did chime in and he said, have a catch. Playing catch makes the coolest thing in the world sound lame. And then JVT with a very firm response of, I'd understand you had a good summer of Swede, but let's not try too hard and be contrarian on purpose. So we have, I don't know if this will sweep the rest of the day, Gil, but I apologize for the feed being littered with responses one way or the other.
This is one of those, I'll leave it at this because I don't want to belabor it, but this is one of those where I don't even think it's a binary choice. It's like when people say, do you say soda or do you say pop? I'm like, I don't think I say either. I was like, you want a Coke? Right? And I say, I would say to my buddy, I'd be like, you want to go out, throw the ball? I think I would say that. I don't think I'd say either of them. But have a catch. Perfect. Get out of here. Have a catch. Nobody. I think we settled that. Before we get into your plays, Jensen, by the way, thank you for joining us because I know you just did the show, and so this is extra time for you. It's added time. You don't know how much the refs are going to put on the clock sometimes with this stuff.
Right.
So I appreciate it. Detroit. I just seized on the Detroit Tigers briefly there before the break. Once again, I don't know. I have them for most wins in August at 60-1. They are 2 wins behind the 10-1 Rays, who thankfully are out of Sacramento now, so they can actually go play real baseball teams. But I'm just curious because Joe Sheehan and I have a little bit of a disagreement on this, and I'm curious where you stand on this. At the trade deadline, when I gave out that pick, I said, here's what I believe the Tigers are going to do. And this was because 2 years ago they traded Jack Flaherty to the Dodgers at this point. By the way, they end up getting Flaherty back, by the way, as it turned out. But they traded him to the Dodgers 2 years ago, and they accidentally made the playoffs anyway. And I think with that as a backdrop, I think what I said was they're going to trade Tarik Skubal because it's the responsible thing to do. But I actually think they believe they're going to make the playoffs, that they can thread this needle. Joe says that no. Which side do you come on?
Oh, I think they do. And it won't shock me if they contend for this division title by the end.
No, he believes they will contend. The point is, do you think that their mindset was we're still going for it even though we're trading him?
100%. And you illustrated it perfectly, the responsible thing to do. We did not pull, an Angels of years past by not trading Shohei Ohtani and thinking that all was going to end well. It did not, and we obviously know where they are as a franchise right now. The responsible thing was done. They also knew, though, Gil, they were getting Jackson Jobe back to bolster that rotation. And then, having the emergence, I think, of Troy Melton and Cater Montero to go along with Framber Valdez, you had the depth in so many words and the personnel in a very weak Central Division. And as you know, we've talked about it for months here, it is a wide open American League. So 100% think they contend. I love your 60-1. I have Tampa at 10-1 for most wins in August. I even couldn't imagine a perfect road trip. You would think you slip up somewhere, But the way that offense is going from Coors to Sacramento, job well done by that pitching staff being able to limit both offenses for the home teams. But yes, Detroit is hitting. And now, Gil, this is a larger sample here even before the All-Star break, but more so the start of the second half into where we are currently. The offense is now hitting the way I think they envisioned it would at the beginning of the year, and it's coincided with this rotation turn in and turn out. They have the number one rotation ERA in baseball right now. And I know there's part of Tarik Skubal is involved in that, but still, that's a credit to this group as of late. They have the number one and the lowest, I believe, team ERA in the month of August at 2.20. There's only 3 teams that have a team ERA under 3. That's Detroit, Atlanta, and Boston. So, yep, they're right in this thing, and they're going to be a handful.
Yeah, and again, by sequencing, by Pythag, by things that I look at, they should be 20 games over 500 at this point, literally 20 games. And they had their expected WOBA, which obviously Tarik Skubal had nothing to do with, hitting, was top 5 in all of Major League Baseball heading into the month. So anyway, let's get to your picks. By the way, Jackson Jobe, who you referred to, hit triple digits on the gun in his first start back from Tommy John. He is on the hill today against the White Sox in the first of a 3-game set, which is huge in the AL Central, with the Tigers 2.5 back and now inhabiting the 3rd wild card position. Unbelievable. Cardinals.
It is.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, it's unbelievable to see where this division has been. And considering that Tigers blew the 15.5 game lead last year, and they may come back from double digits this year, you can't write that script. It's just unbelievable what they've done.
Cardinals, Cubs at Wrigley, day game at Wrigley. As the folks who are in the Midwest who love the Cardinals and Cubs say, it's the greatest rivalry in all of sports, which I always snicker at because I'm like, really? Is it? Not even best in baseball, I wouldn't think. But they think it's that. Cubs are minus 175 favorites. Cubs having a great month. How are you playing this one?
I played an alternate run line at -1 at $1.24. Cubs' last 8 of their 10 wins at home, Gil, since July 1st have been by at least 2 runs. They get Matthew Liberatore on the other side, who's got about a 6 ERA in his last 4 starts, and the Cardinals have lost 3 of those last 4. So pretty straight up here. I'll ride the hot offense, albeit hat tip to Cade Cavalli, was absolutely filthy yesterday. I had that no-hitter late into the game. I like the Cubs offense early and often against Matthew Liberatore this afternoon at Wrigley. Like the Cardinals, Marlins and Reds are on the outside looking in of the NL wildcard picture. You have a total play in this ballgame today. I usually don't go unders at Great American Ballpark, but when I get this kind of swing and miss capability, Gil, with Sandy Alcantara and Chase Burns going head-to-head, I'll take it. By the way, Sandy Alcantara, 3 straight scoreless starts in which he's allowed just 11 hits in his last 20 innings, 10 total runs combined in those 3 starts between those teams. Under 8.5 is going to be the play because we get Chase Burns on the other side. Just a smidge under a 3 ERA in his last 4 starts, but Gil, 9 straight starts at Great American Ballpark, allowing 3 earned runs or fewer. Alcantara might not be the best pitcher in baseball, but man, when he's good, he is good. That's for sure. Pirates and the Red Sox. Red Sox break the 5-game skid yesterday. They are taking on the Pirates. Pirates have had it not so good of late. You're on the Red Sox here or the Pirates? I like the Pirates at a nice money line price here. Home dog here, Bubba Chandler, and the way he's pitched, especially his last 5 at PNC. Pirates have won 4 of those last 5. Jake Bennett has trailed off a little bit, starter for the Red Sox. Last 4 in ERA over 5. He's given up 26 hits in 23 innings. Red Sox have looked vulnerable. Toronto exposed him a little bit. I think you get the power pitching of Bubba Chandler and that big offensive outburst for the Pirates in the series finale. I think they get it going here tonight. All right, and then the Dodgers game tonight. You have a total play in this one. The Dodgers-Brewers, where the Brewers took the first in dramatic fashion yesterday. Edwin Diaz, thanks for blowing my under 8.5 yesterday. Let's go right back to it, though. Robert Gasser, last 4 starts at 3 ERA, but 3 of his last 4 starts, Gil, have gone under the total. Yoshi Yamamoto on the other side, .88 ERA, last 4 starts. Dodgers only averaging 3.7 runs a game in August. Under 8. Let's rock and roll. Let's see another low-scoring one tonight. Jensen, thank you for staying late. Appreciate it. And have a catch out of here. Get out of here. Get a catch. Get off my feed. Thank you, Jensen. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Jensen and Dave Ross by the books each and every Monday through Friday that precedes us here on the network. Horse racing scandal next. Let's go.
Numbers Game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
20 leagues, one mission, just win bets, baby. Your premier source for daily sports betting picks. They break down the data so you can bet with confidence across the entire sports calendar. Scan the QR code or visit justwinbetsbaby.com today and start betting smarter with Just Win Bets Baby. The name says it all. Scan that QR code right there on your screen. Ladies and gentlemen, this man is not only an Eclipse Award winner in his own right and the U.S. analyst at Sky Sports Racing, but he's also the son of legendary disc jockey Peter Fornatale Sr., who used to work at WNEW. It's Peter Fornatale Jr. I don't know if he goes with the junior, but it's our buddy Peter Fornatale to help us through a horse racing scandal. How you doing, Peter?
I am doing really well. You know, it's always a pleasure for me to be on the airwaves with you. And yeah, not a junior. We had different middle names, so I've been able to eschew, as you like to say, the junior tag.
Very nice. Eschewing the junior tag. Okay, I don't want to waste any time because this is a very detailed story. We don't usually on this show go crazy horse racing, or certainly not global horse racing scandals, but you wrote a fabulous piece about this. I mean, it was super detailed. It was everything anybody needed to know, and you were kind enough to give us 10 minutes here. Can you explain it to us, to quote Denzel Washington in the movie Philadelphia? Could you explain it to us like I'm a 2-year-old? Start from the beginning, speak slowly. This is fascinating.
It's a wild story, and it's a developing story. We just had a big break in it yesterday, and this will go on to have many more chapters, but here's where we are. Last Sunday, I was pulling one of my shifts at Sky Sports Racing, and I saw a most unusual betting pattern on a horse that I had just liked off the paper. This horse, very unusual with bookmakers to see a horse go in a matter of minutes from 13-2, so more than a 6-1 shot, all the way down into 2-1. You see that kind of thing in tote betting, but not with bookies. And it just filed that away in my brain. Like, that's interesting. 2 races later, the same trainer who had sent out that winner sent out another horse that had a similar profile to the one who just won. What was the profile? These were horses shipping in to Saratoga from out of town, off of long layoffs, all associated with one trainer. They did not all run in the name Angel Quiros, but they had all been associated with him in recent races. Well, it turns out it wasn't just those 2. There were 8 of them overall. 6 of them ran on Sunday. 4 of them won. And then there were 2 more horses with this same sort of profile entered on Monday that racing officials ended up scratching. Not quite sure what authority they were able to do that on, but the last 2 did not run. Well, I started digging in, making phone calls, got a lot of gambling contacts around the world, and got the news from somebody familiar with the world of English bookmaking that there had been, surprise, surprise, large wagers connecting all 8 of these horses. Parlays in England are not like parlays in the States, but I think this isn't too down the rabbit hole to explain to you and your audience. The way they have parlays over there is you can do bets. There's a bet, for example, called a Lucky 15, which is 15 different wagers connecting 4 legs of a parlay, where you're betting the win, you're betting the what they call the doubles, which is, parlaying 2 of them, trebles, parlaying 3 of them, and then another bet parlaying all 4. What it turned out was those type of multiple bets were made across all of these different runners. Now, what's fascinating about this is the way these bets were made, they weren't attached to a single liability figure the way that you would expect with a traditional bookmaker. Usually a bookmaker gives you odds on a parlay, you know what those odds are right away. You get a ticket saying, here's what you stand to win. Well, in English bookmaking, especially on these American races, they don't price them up in advance in the same way. They agree to honor certain bets based on what they call SP, which is starting price, basically a closing price, not entirely dissimilar from how tote betting works. So that's how they were able to not detect the fact. And we don't have confirmed numbers on this. What I have confirmed is on Sunday, they were taken for at least mid-6 figures. Some estimate it way higher than that. And that had those horses won on Sunday, Monday, the last two legs of the parlay, that liability would have gone into the millions. But because of the way these bets were placed, you don't have to bet a whole lot. You don't have to outlay more than 50 or 100 pounds to get to those kind of numbers if you do it cleverly like they did. Apparently, it was across multiple betting shops. There were American tourists. They had American IDs, and they were able to bet these relatively small, multiple bets. 50 or 100 were the estimates I heard on the size of the bets being made, but they accumulated to where they were on the hooks for millions of dollars. You're hearing stories about other money being bet offshore, etc. I haven't heard any confirmation of that, but I can confirm that these bookies in London were hit pretty hard.
Let me interrupt, and then I'll let you riff some more, but a few follow-up questions. You already answered my first one, which is if those horses were allowed to run on Monday and won, how much more would it have been? You already answered. It would have gone into the stratosphere, into the millions. Angel Quiros, the trainer in question, does he have a nefarious background of any kind?
Well, this is where it gets really fascinating, and it relates right to the new development in the story that I'm going to tell you about right now, which is when I researched him, he didn't have any suspicious positives in his past. But just yesterday, it became public knowledge that there was a dirty test for one of his horses, an out-of-competition test on a horse back on July 10th. And this is where it gets really fascinating, and we're hitting a moving target. I don't know why that wasn't made public until yesterday. I do believe that information is supposed to be released sooner than that, but this is where we're getting into the weeds and have to figure out all the particulars. But it makes you wonder, did he know he was going to get popped for a dirty test and decided to put this coup into action, or whoever he's working with? We can't say. It's unknowable, but the timing is wild that this guy who did not have any significant medication violations, now we know had one back on July 10th. And it's a weird one too. It's for a substance, I think it's called albuterol, that like everyone on the backside would know you cannot administer to a horse without getting caught. Like there's definitely a lot more to be connected in here. But what we know for sure is these 8 horses, they were set up to run well. 6 of them basically did. 4 of them won. Bookies got taken for a lot of money. And we're left with a whole lot of questions. I got some of them. Here are some questions. Are the 6 races on Sunday where 4 of those 6 won? And by the way, I love the defense. Hey, these 2 didn't. I'm not doing anything wrong. Were they were in a short span of time, right? Like in 90 minutes, all those races were run, right? So it was like this, just a bundle. You couldn't even react to them, correct? It was kind of crazy. There was, it really was within, I think, a 3-hour window. I believe that's all detailed in the At the Races piece. It's not sticking to the top of my brain right now. And the nature of it and the nature of these races being parlays was fascinating because, that means as you go on, they became more and more important. And I think part of the reason for that big money on the Classic Rock horse, I can only assume that's funny enough, since those bets were struck at SP, they didn't know what they were liable for. Some of that win money I saw on that horse was probably from the bookmaking industry itself, because by betting that Classic Rock horse, they were accomplishing 2 things. They're laying off money and recouping some of their liability if that horse wins, but they're also making that starting price smaller by betting more on the horse, therefore reducing their liability while recouping. Nobody from the bookmaking industry is really talking about this on the record. I think they're pretty laconic about it, but I have to assume that's what went on there. 2 final questions. Is it your professional opinion or your professional instinct that this is this looks terrible? It is absolutely a coordinated attack. One trainer, 6 horses. Clearly something nefarious is going on with the juicing or whatever. Obviously, and most of the money being bet in Britain makes it even more difficult for what is already a murky regulatory system with horse racing in the U.S. to even do anything about it. You believe that this is this was absolutely coordinated, you think? Well, it was definitely coordinated. The question we had until yesterday, there's nothing illegal about betting on your own horses and setting up a horse to run well through legitimate means of training. And while I will admit I never thought that was the most likely scenario, I was sort of hoping for that. I'm a person in life who wants to root for the wise guys, wants to root for the bettors
Right.
if they're doing it on the level, right? But I think yesterday's knowledge about the guy popping a positive shows that that's naive, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is now long. I mean, it's certain to be nefarious at this point.
And here's the last thing, though, in all of this. So they made their bets. They won their money. You can't get that money back. They won their money. You can't take the money back right at this point. It's over, right?
I believe that is the case from the money from those English bookmakers. What's happening with any money they supposedly bet offshore or books elsewhere, I'm not certain, but I think they're going to be able to collect. It sounds like the bookies are going to pay out on that money.
Yeah.
It's a longer conversation as to why that might be the right thing from a commercial point of view.
Peter, got to run.
It's fascinating, man.
Yeah, thank you so much. That is fascinating. The world of horse racing. Right here on A Numbers Game. Coming back.